Today on the Magic for Life podcast, we have Luis and Luis, the BizBros, hosts of the Content is Profit podcast. They help businesses turn their long-form content into value-packed assets to build an audience and achieve frictionless sales. Let's cue the intro and jump right in. I've spent the last 20 years studying, teaching, and coaching people to find their greatness and take their lives to the next level. Along the way, it's become evident that emotions are at the root of everybody's successes and failures. Worry and fear are the enemies, and it's time to forge the armor and earn the tools to overcome the two things that could single-handedly destroy your future. Hi, my name is Michael Johnson, and I'm a life coach, a peak performance trainer, and I'm the emotions guy. It's time to take back control of how you feel, control of how you act, and control of how you experience life. It's time to become a lifer, a new breed of overachiever focused on living every minute to its fullest. We are responsible for how we feel, and no one and no thing can make us feel anything. Emotional mastery is our journey, and emotional education and intelligence is the key. We are lifers, and this is Magic for Life. What's up, lifers? Michael Johnson here with the Magic for Life podcast, and I'm excited that you joined me today because we don't have just one special guest. We have two special guests from Content is Profit podcast, the BizBros. What's up? How you guys doing?
Let's go.
What's up? Thank you so much for having us over.
Yeah, man.
I'm excited
Appreciate it.
to have you guys, man. You guys are full of energy and full of excitement. I love your podcast. You guys bring on some amazing guests. And to top it all off, you're there every time.
Thank you. I mean, I would take that as a compliment. I don't know if Fonzie there is a good thing.
Sometimes my mind might, float a little bit away to other worlds. And then it's like, okay, whoa.
We're back in the show, Fonzie.
Yeah,
we're back in the show.
It's just pure admiration, for the people that we get the opportunity to talk with. Just like yourself, it's like, wow, can't believe this is happening.
It's awesome. Now, you're both of your names are Luis, right?
That is correct.
But you call him Fonzie.
That is also correct.
Yeah.
Ding, ding, ding.
Yeah. So
you got it right.
There's a story behind that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Of course. My mom, she's a frustrated marketer. So no, I'm kidding. So back home, actually, it's pretty normal to have, same names for brothers. And we actually have a middle name. Just people don't normally use it, right? So the guy on my right here, he's my real brother. His name is Luis Daniel, and I am Luis Alfonso. And that's why he calls me Fonzie, right? But the thing is, back home, everybody just would call us Luis. And it's normal. People wouldn't be like, oh, you guys are brothers and have the same name.
Yeah.
But when we came here to the United States, people started saying, wait, you guys are real brothers? And you both have the same name? And eventually we got to the same job and they were like, wait, there's two Luis. How do we distinguish them? Like if I say Luis, they both turn around. So
somehow we always know who they're talking to.
Yeah, we can feel the energy.
We can feel it, yeah.
Yeah, but my brother, right, he remembered that there was this nickname that I absolutely disliked. Plot twist, it was Fonzie. And he was like, you know what, guys? You can start calling him Fonzie. And I was like, no, don't do it. And the thing is, Fonzie was a nickname that they gave me a long time ago when I was back in Venezuela, but it was because of the singer, Luis Fonsi, right? That he sings Despacito with Justin Bieber and stuff like that, right?
So it's a compliment.
And at that point in my life, right, I was a little kid and I was like, no, I don't like Luis Fonsi, blah, blah, blah. And now when I came here and people started calling me Fonzie, someone randomly was like, wow, that is such a cool nickname. And I was like, really? You think so? And she's like, yeah, from Fonzie from Happy Days.
Happy Days.
Yeah. And I was like, wait, what is Happy Days? I don't think they showed that in Venezuela, or at least they didn't show that while I was growing up in Venezuela.
We had no idea.
So I Googled it up, of course. I saw a video and I was like, I like Fonzie. Hey, so I was like, I can take on that personality too, So since that moment, I have embraced the nickname Fonzie, and now it's all good.
So happy ending. He's Fonzie, and then I keep my name Luis. So it's good.
Way to go. You tricked him successfully.
Win-win situation.
Win-win situation.
Well, you guys are quite the entrepreneurs, and usually you are the one that is interviewing all the other amazing guests you guys have on your show. And so now I get to put you guys in the hot seat and ask you all the juicy details about how you got to this point and why you're doing what you're doing. So let's start with your backstory. You said, from where you're from. So where are you guys from originally?
Yeah, so we're both from Venezuela. We were both born there, raised there. The dream was always to be a professional soccer player. So that's how that's how we grew up. And then I had the opportunity to go to Italy for a full year when I was 15. Fonzie followed to some summer camps in Spain. I was there as well for another year.
All for soccer.
All for soccer.
Yeah. Football.
Oh, football. Yes. Football. Muy bien. That's why you see us every couple of episodes with our soccer jerseys.
That's why I got my soccer jersey today. Yeah, my team is playing today, so I gotta support.
We gotta represent. So, but yeah, we grew up there. We had awesome opportunities. A family that was really supportive to whatever we were about to do. Right. My dad, I remember saying a quote like, "Hey, if you want to be a shoe shiner, doesn't matter. Just be the best shoe shiner out there, right? Go do it." And I think that marked us and the way that we think to be able to do something like this, right? Because our mind was always wondering, it's like, what do we do? What do we do? And we never really wanted to do like a job, I guess. Not for a crazy bad experience in our family, because our mom works in a university for the last 40 years. She's been there forever, and she loves it, right? Like our dad has jobs and he loves what he does.
I think in her mind, the only thing in her mind was literally, how do I become a professional soccer player?
Exactly.
That's all it was in her mind.
That was the thing. And then things happen and the dream didn't come true, right? I had a crazy injury. Opportunities come and go. It's a different game out there. But we were like, okay, how can we actually utilize this skill that we have playing to finding opportunities? So all the political background in our country, as you might or might not know, is a little crazy right now. So we're like, hey, what we want to do in life, it might be really challenging here because of, whatever, all the limitations that exist. Where can we go? And we decided to utilize soccer as a vehicle to come to the States and get soccer scholarships. And that's how we ended up here in the United States 10 years ago. We both played college soccer, D1 schools, and then Fonzie here got actually to play for a professional team, right? For they in Florida here, they started a professional team. He went to the tryouts, made it happen. So if you're asking who's best, obviously Fonzie here. Clearly, I roll around the field right now. I don't run, I just roll. And then from there, it's just the game started, right? So we accepted that soccer might have not be the dream, right? Or the thing that we're going to go for. And then we had a little identity crisis, right?
Yeah, little to say the least.
Yeah, so we're like, man, soccer is no longer there. It's not a viable opportunity now. Yeah.
What do we do next?
What do we do, right? And that's when really this entrepreneurship journey really started. We're like, okay, there's a big why behind. We would like to have our family back here together with us. There's a lot of other reasons as well, but then we're like, okay, sweet, the desire is there, but now what do we do?
Yeah,
let's try to figure it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And it was very challenging, right? Because you come from practicing every single day from a certain routine to all of a sudden, literally all that is gone. And you're like, okay, well, everybody's following this path going in one way, which is not wrong, right? But us personally, we didn't feel like we just wanted to sit down in an office and do certain work and then go back to another life, right? If you want to put it that way, we're like, how can we, make our own mark? And I think that's where, we always make analogies between soccer and entrepreneurship. And I think it's just sports in general, entrepreneurship. It has so many, similarities. And one of those is the drive, trying to succeed at no matter the cost, right? You're going to play your hardest. And that's when we were like, okay, let's figure this out. Let's try new things. And our journey started actually with a sticker company. One of our roommates came one day and he's like, hey, guess what, guys? Let's do stickers. And we're like, yes,
let's go.
He's like, margins are amazing. And we're like, let's do it. That sounds great. But we didn't know how to sell. We didn't know how to market. We didn't know how to make stickers, right?
Or how to hire somebody that makes the stickers for you, because the margins are so awesome.
Yeah, you would think it would be pretty important to know how to make the stickers, right? And we decided to start learning all these new skills, designing, how to make the actual stickers, right? Trying to sell, market, total failure. 2 weeks later, it was like I think a month or 2 months later, the roommate comes and he's like, guys, I signed us up for an awesome event here in Orlando. It's called the Surf Expo, right? So a lot of vendors go and you get to see, it's like a whole different world, honestly. And we went there and they were selling these t-shirt printing machines, right? Like huge. It was a huge investment. We're like, wow, those are pretty cool.
Just so you have an idea of background on like how ahead the company was. Like we're in line to get our tickets to go in, like our lanyards with like all the information, right? And as we're in line, I think the two people in front of us are like, oh, have you put it, like you fill out the form? And we turn around to a room, we're like, there's a form? Like, I have no idea there's a form. And it's like, oh yeah, let's see this form. So we're in line and he's like, oh man, there's a website. We need to have a website and submit it. And like, do you submit the website? I was like, we don't have a website. What do we do? So we had this template of a website, you know, that was like not live yet, that it was a Shopify site that we're supposed to, it was supposed to go live, and it was just there sitting. And we're like, man, can you put it live from the phone? Like, we need this. And it's like 10 people ahead of us. And, you know, they're like receiving their lanyards. And we're like, oh man, like if we don't have this, they won't let us in. So, and I remember like our roommate was like on his phone, just trying to get this live. And we're just like trying to make time to get to like the person that was going to accept us, you know, because you have to have like this registered business, like all these like qualifications.
You had to be legit business in paper.
Like, exactly, because we came up saying, hey, we're going to purchase like stuff from the conference to put on our site, right? It was called 6 Foot Southern, mainly because our roommate is 6 foot and he's Southern. So so we're like, okay, can you put 6footsouthern.com like live? Let's go. We need this like to be legit. And we achieved it. So we came into the line.
We managed to go to the other side, and we're like, we made it. Like, that felt like such a huge success. It's like, we are official, boys.
So that's how our first website went live in like less than 15 minutes, because we needed to get into the event.
Yeah, no, and the event was great, right? We met a bunch of entrepreneurs. Like, we discovered a whole new industry that we didn't know. Yeah. And with that discovery came a huge investment, right? Because like a month later, our roommate came and he's like, guys, guess what I did? And we're like, what? He's like, I bought a screen printing machine. Now we're a t-shirt company. And we're like, let's go. You know, we were so excited at this point, honestly. We're like, let's do it. You know, like, we don't care about the stickers anymore. We're going to do t-shirts. So again, we needed to learn how to make the t-shirts. We needed to learn how to sell the t-shirts, who to sell, market, everything, right? And it was a very painful process. If any of your listeners is in Florida, just imagine yourself in your garage, right? In the middle of summer with a screen printing machine that the paints, they cannot dry. And not only that, you have an oven to dry the shirts after they're done in the garage
like
too.
100 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, it was torture, literally.
Yeah. So like the lesson there like was, enjoy the process, right? We were not enjoying the process. We were like screen printing these t-shirts after, you know, I had a full-time job at the time. So I would come home at like 7 p.m. Their job was to have the screens ready to go. They were normally not ready to go because it was a painful process since we were learning it. And then just like doing the squeegee thing that everybody like loves, right? Can I do the squeegee thing? That was like everybody that will go to the house, like, can I try it? And like, yes, absolutely. For like 5 hours tonight, we're printing shirts.
Yeah, so, if you want to join.
If you want to join, by the way.
Bring awesome. A towel. It might get a little hot in here.
So yeah, that was our first like entrepreneurial experience. And it was very frustrating, but it was like, okay, if we don't enjoy the process, it's going to be really challenging to move forward, right? And you mentioned, you know, behind we started the show that you have, you know, more than 200 episodes. So you must enjoy this process on producing the show. And that for us was kind of like okay, season 2 starts now, right?
Yeah, it's like if we're gonna do something, it has to be something that we enjoy.
Yeah.
Right. Issue was we didn't know what we enjoyed besides playing soccer, right? So, I mean, at the time, my brother, he had his full-time job at a fitness studio, and I was still coaching kids, right? I was part of a program called Happy Feet, and we would go to daycares actually and coach 2 to 6 years old. So imagine the patience that I gained there. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah. So just so like maybe Michael has some question for us. I'm just saying, like season 2, I'm just gonna speed up and like we do something totally different. So I'm just gonna let you ask questions. Sorry, we tend to talk.
No, it's great. This is exactly what I was hoping for, because in so many instances, it's easy to look up at these entrepreneurs and you look and everything looks like it's in place and you're going, wow, they're hitting it. Oh, that person just won their 2 Comma Club award. Like everything's going great. And, it's so easy to forget what happened to get to that point. And they've all learned, and we've all learned to tell our story in the best light possible. And so it's always amazing when I can share with all of our entrepreneurs out in our tribe, like, hey guys, you know what? The first one might be, you might hit it. You might hit your 2 Comma Club award, or it might be the 20th one. And it's okay, because like you said, it's about that journey. And when you don't enjoy that journey part, then you got to find something. So how in the world, like there's this next space, right? What happened between screen printing and we got to find something we love to do?
Yeah. So in that journey of trying to find out how to market, right, for the t-shirts, I'm like, how do we actually sell? And I had a really wrong definition on selling, right? My definition of selling is like, I need to convince people that this is like the best thing ever and they need to buy it from us, right?
Right.
So that already puts you in a really negative position, right? And we talked today about the frictionless sale. How do you actually make that happen? So through that question, we're like, okay, let's find out, like, how do we do this? Like, and then we started consuming a ton of content. Like, we started trying to learn, the free, free way.
We turned to the internet sensei, right? YouTube. We're like, how do you make money online? Okay, good, let's go. Yeah. And it turned out that we were actually fortunate enough to be targeted by a ClickFunnels ad at the point, right? And it was about the time that he was actually releasing the .com secrets. And I remember I saw that and I was like, wow, that is so cool. And I had a flashback, right? When I was like 12 years old, I remember myself in Venezuela back at home. I was like, how do I make money online, right?
At 12.
Yeah, and I landed in the, this website? This affiliate marketplace is huge, ClickBank, right? I landed in ClickBank and I started learning about it. And I was like, wow, this is pretty cool. And then I forgot all about it, right? Because my life was just soccer. So when I heard Russell Brunson and I saw his book, I immediately remind myself about those times in my life. And I was like, wow, like that might be a good place to go, right? Like who wouldn't like to make money in their couch, at their house, right? That's the image I had of an internet marketer. I was like, I'm just going to be in my couch, eating chips and salsa and making a bunch of money. So we ordered the book and I mean, it got salsa. To one. Yeah. And the chips and salsa, of course.
That's why I roll around the field and not run anymore. That's why.
And one day I was reading the book. I was actually at a Panda Express, right? And I was outside in the parking lot. I haven't gone in yet. And I was just reading the book and I was like, wow, how easy it is. That was my thought. I was like, I mean, and that's how well he explains it there, that it makes it so easy that you are immediately attracted to this opportunity. And I was like, wow, like selling online is super easy. Like maybe this is the thing that we should do, right? Yeah. And I think that's what started our online journey, because I came to my brother and I was like, dude, look at this. You got to read this. You got to learn about this. Let's go and do something online.
Yeah. And at the time I was reading like the book, The One Thing. So, he comes to that and we're like, okay, what is the one thing that we can actually do? Right. And at the time, soccer seemed the obvious option. You know, we did some personal training there, but we're like, we don't really want to tackle this, right? Maybe in the future there's a dream project that we have top secret, if you should know. But but for that purposes, we're like, okay, like we're good with like social media. We thought we were good with social media. This is like 5-6 years ago.
I don't even know why we thought we were good with social media.
I think it's because we were using social media at the time. We're like, oh man, we're having all these conversations.
Yeah, we're like, oh wow, we're millennials. We are probably good with social media, right?
So we got super indoctrinated into Tai Lopez, the gateway drug to internet. So, you know, we purchased out of a credit card that we applied for almost like 2 weeks before that to his social media marketing agency like course, right? And we didn't consume the whole thing. We were like, I didn't consume the whole thing. I don't know you. I think you did.
I didn't finish it. I think I did like half of it, but it was a great start actually, because
it made us like take that first step to actually go out and start selling services.
It brought out awareness into a new space, right? And new possibilities. And we're like, wow, so this is how things work in a business and that does social media marketing, right? Interesting. This is how we go get clients. Interesting, right? And immediately,
which by the way has changed completely. Yes. Like today, like we do it completely different, right? So, but again, like the first customers was a Mexican restaurant, which by the way, we go out. Well, Fonzie goes out in a suit. Like if you see like all our streams today is either soccer jersey or BizBros.
Yeah, like you will never see me in a suit
ever again.
Maybe when I get married.
So he's walking to his Mexican restaurant, right, with a suit and like trying to convince keeps coming up, this business owner that social media is the way to go. And our pitch was, hey, you're investing in magazines, Facebook, just by posting like regularly, whatever, is gonna get you either more views or cheaper views by this pricing point that we're putting you. That we're quoting you, right?
Yeah, we did like this spreadsheet with just full of facts. Like we knew nothing about telling stories. Let me tell you, like I was sweating, sitting down, talking to this guy, showing him a spreadsheet, and I was like, why isn't he like smiling or anything? Why is he so serious? And then I realized because I was making him so bored, right? With all these facts, all these things. I wasn't connecting with him emotionally or anything.
Somehow after like 7 visits, they decide to like, okay, let's get these guys a shot, whatever, like we're hiring you guys. And that was the first time that we sold something for like $500, right? You have the story. Yeah. So this is a similar story of like the website on the line, right? Like, so he comes on and he's like, we sold it, like this is it, like we're in business. And I'm like, are we? And he's like, yeah. I'm like, no, we're really not, like the company's not registered, let's go actually register the company. So we went that night and we registered the company, and then the
next day we went back because we needed him to sign some papers. And the first thing he says, he's like, oh, hey guys, how are you doing? By the way, I just noticed that your company was registered last night. And we're like, no. Yeah. And I don't know why. We were like, yes, you know, we were actually just talking to a lot of people, just trying to see if what we were offering was appealing for others. And, you know, you said yes. So immediately we went and registered the company and this is what we're going to do and stuff. Man, and he was like, okay, cool, let's go. I was like, oh, we dodged the bullet.
We dodged the bullet. So, you know, that was like the start of the agency kind of thing, but at the time was more of a freelancing gig, right? Because we were saying yes to most of the opportunities coming on, you know, so I started to get involved in a lot of the sales things because I ended up managing a few fitness studios. I had salespeople under me, about a team of like 15. So we're like doing all these trainings and these things. And then I started discovering that we're selling the complete wrong way. And we're like, man, like this is adding so much friction to like my retention and stuff like that. So together with the marketing agency or the content agency that we had at the time, it was like, okay, how do we mix both of them together? And we ended up in this big event, the 10X conference. And for the first time I saw Russell speak. Before that, Fonzie was trying to convince me to like read the book. And I'm like, no, read it. Like, no. And then I saw him live with Ryan Dice and so many other amazing people on stage. And I'm like, man, and what they're talking about was, hey, there's a big disconnect between the marketing and the sales departments on every single company, right? And that trickles down into small business owners. And I was in the small business owner category, not by owner, but by managing a few of them. And I was like, I saw it because the marketing says a message, right? And then the sales team has something completely different. So the marketing is like the creatives, the dreamers, right? Like the Fonzies of the world, right? And then the salespeople is like, awesome, we attracted you with this amazing message, but then what we're selling you is like completely different, right? It's not what you want, right? We're trying to convince you. And that was a message that resonated because we were having that same experience, like in our day-to-day, like in our company, in my job at the time. So I'm like, man, and they were talking about an omni-channel solution, which for us, we got introduced like to that idea. And then it's like funnels, right? Is a vehicle, right? I'm like, that's interesting. So then we started, after that conference, we're all pumped up. We're like, yeah, let's go, let's conquer the world. and we decided now from content, like that is a very obviously important part. We didn't see it like as deep as we see it now, but then we're like, that's the start of your omni-channel process. So what we're doing, we're actually doing the content, and we're going to create a funnel for you for your brick and mortar business, right? So that was a new service, and we'll call ourselves or market ourselves as the anti-marketing agency. Great message, because everybody was so frustrated with their agencies. So it was a great conversation starter. But then what that caused was like, okay, tell me what is your problem, and they'll have all these different problems, and we're like, yes to that, we'll solve it for you.
Yeah, exactly. We didn't have one thing that we would solve. We would just try to solve any problem that would come our way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, what that does is you cannot actually scale a business that way. You cannot grow a business. And that's why we were stuck in the freelancing area, right? Because first, we didn't know either how much to charge, right? We're like,
no,
we'll figure it out, right? Like maybe $1,000. Does that sound good to you? And
it did say yes very quickly. Be like, dang it, we should have said like $3,000.
Yeah, literally. And it was, again, we didn't have any processes. So every single time we would start a new job with someone, we had to figure out all over from the start what we had to do.
And what that caused was a lot of frustration, a lot of, I guess not too much arguments, but it was like frustration mostly. Like, we cannot fulfill to the best of our ability, right? We had to like learn a ton of stuff. What that helped us do was also be exposed to a lot of different solutions and creative ideas. But on the fulfillment side was very challenging, and it was really frustrating for the clients and us, to the point that one of them was like, guys, like, I feel like I'm your guinea pig, because every 2 weeks we'll be like, we have this awesome new idea. Right. And like, let's try to, and hey, wonderful Sammy, shout out. We love you. Like, we're still like really awesome, good friends. But she's like this dietitian. She had massive success. Like, we ran a few campaigns that she did amazing. But after a year of working together, she's like, I feel like you guys are using me as a guinea pig of all these different strategies, right? Bless her heart that she went with it, and like it worked. But at the same time, wow, that's a really like hard conversation to have, right?
Yeah.
And
that was like gut punch for sure, because we're like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, it made us open our eyes. Like, again, we don't offer one solution, right? We're just trying to be something that fits everybody's. And by doing that, we're actually not helping them as much as we could. We're not serving them as much as we could. So for us, I was like, okay, well, we need to figure something out, right? And around that point, we started actually working with the company that my brother was managing. They brought me in, and I started helping them with their social media marketing. And it was around that time, right? You like to tell this one.
Yeah. So we saw a cool opportunity, right? Like, we saw, hey, like with content, let's create something internally here. Like, and then immediately we saw, by engaging with like our own community, by creating a platform, right? They had like this show, like that's the concept. We'll bring like the members in, the coaches in. And what happens is, like, internally retention went through the roof. People started to stay because they were connected to this brand now, to their studios. We're like, wow, this is so awesome. And then we started to like kind of think about this as a new opportunity on how we create content. So we started creating a system that allows you to multiply your content. So if you have like a long form video or video podcast, then from that platform, we will start grabbing different assets and placing them in a very specific way with very specific, distribution. And we started creating that ourselves, right? But then the selling was, hey, let's go out to these smaller businesses, right? And let's pitch them on the idea that they need a show, that they need like this macro piece, like this video, and then we're gonna execute on the production side of things, which was a great idea. But now when we're trying to execute, people are not comfortable in camera. They don't know what to say. They don't know the stories, what to tell. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with this, Michael. I'm sure like you have gone through this, right? Mm-hmm. So, and then it was a lot of friction because now we're trying to convince them, again, this word keeps coming up. We're trying to convince them that this is the vehicle that they need, but they're not comfortable. So there's a lot of friction there. And then we don't get the product that we need. So we are able to execute our service. So fast forward a few months, we're like trying to figure out how to get out of these clients. We're still in a position where we cannot do it because money wise, like we need it for the company. And then we go to this awesome event and one of the people are like, well, I actually do video podcasts. Like, how much will you charge me to create the assets from that? And we're like,
yeah, we looked at each other like, what just happened?
What just happened? That's the person we need to be talking to. That's the type of people like they already believe in content, already creating, right? So we're like, man, like massive light bulb. It's like, okay, sell to the people that want what you offer, not the ones that they need. Because if they need it, that's fine. Like if you see that, to me, everybody needs like to do this, what we're doing right now, right? But I'm not gonna convince them, right? I need to find them in a conversation, in a point where they already know that this is so valuable, and then they want our solution. So this guy had it, and he wanted the solution. He's like, how much will you charge me? And then that's how we saw for the first time that frictionless sale. It was like, oh man, I don't know, like how much are we charging funds? Like we had no idea, but the guy's like, okay, sweet. Like whenever you're ready, like tell me and I'll jump on. Right. And we're like, wow, massive epiphany. We're like, that's the person that we need to talk to. So we came back from that event and we're like, this is the one thing that we need to start doing. And we completely started phasing out everything else. Then COVID hit, and then COVID sped up very quickly, the phasing out process.
So I do want to kind of like make a remark in this part of COVID, because our biggest client at the moment was the 9 studios, right, that he used to work for before. It was a massive locations, but again, we had to convince them to do this content. We weren't enjoying the process again of going there, recording the macro piece. It was just straight pain. And when COVID hit, they called and they're like, hey, all 9 studios shut down. We don't need you guys anymore, right? And we were like, whoa, biggest client. And my brother here, he just like panic, freak out mode, totally like, when you come into a room and you feel the energy, right? Well, imagine being in the same room and he's talking on the phone, and all of a sudden, like this, boom, you can feel the energy like weighs like 1,000 pounds. And I was like,
it was like back in the screen printing garage with a 100-degree weather. Literally. It was like just like that.
I turn around and I see my brother with his phone in his hand, and he's kind of like slightly shaking his head. And I was like, oh no, the worst has happened. They cancel. And we start talking. I'm like, go take a walk. Like, go take a walk outside. I don't want any of this negative energy in here. I need you to step outside. And so he goes out for a walk, and we each do our own thinking, right? And I think I am a little bit more adept to step away of things that I don't enjoy, like quicker. So in me personally, I was already disconnected a little bit from that client, because I was like, man, so much friction here to execute. So when my brother comes back, he's like, biggest client, what we're going to do? And I was like, look, what if we change perspective? Like, we didn't want to work with them in the first place anymore, right? We had them because they were our biggest client, right? We needed them to survive. But now we have all this time back. What can we do with all this time that we have back now? And we were talking actually a year before, year and a half before, we were trying to start a podcast. The equipment that you see right here, we bought it a year and a half ago. And we actually had a setup in my room at the apartment.
It looked very sketchy.
Yeah, it looks sketchy. My girlfriend, every time we'll go into my room and she's like, well, what are you guys doing
What
here?
are you guys recording with? The cameras, the lights, the bed?
Yeah, like
very weird.
The issue is like, we recorded 5 episodes a year and a half ago, right? Pre-COVID. Right. And we never published them because there was so much friction for us to create that content. And fast forward a year and a half, right? COVID hits, we lose a client. Now, new perspective. We got all this time. We're like, let's do the podcast. Like, we know we need to publish. We have heard this message. from 5 years ago when we got introduced into the ClickFunnels world, right? All these people always say publish, 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 and you see them every single time, all of them. We tell our clients publish, 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 yet we are not doing it consistently. So what did we do? It's like, let's start the podcast. How can we remove the friction from editing and all that stuff? We're just going to do it live. We're going to do it live 3 times a week, Monday, Wednesday, Fridays.
No matter what.
And we haven't looked back. And actually, our business, it was, how long did it took us to come back to the place where we were with that client?
2 weeks. It was incredible. In 2 weeks, we came back, and then within a month, we triple the sales, and it was very oriented. Like it was very niche, and that's, you know, again, and that was a process that we really enjoyed. And, you know, 9 months later, that process, that approach, the publishing, just being out there, right, with a message, just sharing stories, and it allowed us to expand our team. We're about to get to our first like 10 people inside of our team. The business has grown like tenfold. Like, it's just been incredible. And not only that,
not even to mention the relationships we've been able to create, right? Like you, Michael, right here. Like, this is absolutely amazing.
And not just that, also like the personal growth. Like it allowed us to see things in a very different way, change perspective. Like Fonzie said, every time something like that negative might happen, like we look back and we're like, wow, you know, if we were able to survive that, how can we survive now this new challenge, right? What is the new way that we can look at it, and to start changing everything and find the opportunity? How can we enjoy the process, right? Like, are we really enjoying this process? So if we don't enjoy the process, we don't do it, right? Like, it's like, I'm sorry, like we don't offer that. This is exactly what we do. This is how exactly we can help you. And fun
fact, we're actually helping with a fundraising, right? And they were like, hey, like somebody wants to help edit videos. And throughout our journey, one of the skills that I learned was to edit videos, right? And at one point, I enjoyed it, but I don't enjoy it anymore. But I was like, you know what? Like, I'll take it off your hands. I'll do it. Literally, I finished editing the videos like this morning. And I was like, as soon as I'm done, I turned to my brother and I'm like,
that's it.
This is the last this is the last video I'm editing. I told my brother, like, yeah, I'm retiring as a video editor. No more.
No más.
And it's because of that enjoyment of the process, right? It just puts so much pressure on you, and it stops you from moving forward. So it's like, no, if it's not helping me move forward, it's like, I'm going to either delegate it or push it aside, right? Or don't do it at all if it doesn't fit within what we do.
Yeah. So that's what we do now. So now you have the full story.
I love it. I love it. That's awesome. And, you know, it is so telling of the entrepreneurs that are finding success that they just keep hammering. Like, and the part that that stood out to me so much was that you kept searching for what you loved to do. And I think, you know, we can go back all the way to the roots of your soccer days, because, you know, and even from your parents saying, hey, do what you love and do it well. And what a great message that you learned early on, and it keeps following you and it keeps going through, and here you are able to do what you love to do. And I think for a lot of entrepreneurs, that's a huge thing. Like, they're looking at it and they're going, you know, and I've experienced this along the way with many of the people I've worked with. They're like, well, I know how to make $1 million selling t-shirts, but I hate it. And I'm like, well, so you have the money, but you're doing something you hate. And what good is that, you know? And they're in this weird place. So it's so cool to be able to see you guys do what you do. And we'll talk about that some more in just a second. I want to jump into a couple of things, because you guys have had some interesting, what people would typically call challenges along the way, and or maybe failures, right? I don't know that we would call them failures.
We can call it however you want. Like, I honestly,
samples.
Like, well, we call them samples now, but I like the word failure, right? Like, it is what it, like we're reframing it. It's a positive thing that's happening.
Yeah, people gotta learn to love failing, because if you don't fail, you don't move forward. You don't learn. With failure comes knowledge, right? So
absolutely, the
more you fail, you're gonna learn more, and then those knowledges now are going to help you to move forward. Knowledges. Yeah.
I like
knowledges.
No, that's a word, but
we're going to coin it. It's going to be the BizBros knowledges.
Oh, I love it.
The BizBros knowledges.
Hashtag knowledges.
Let's go.
Well, but and then the thing, one of the other things that you said that stood out to me was when you got that call and you lost that big client,
Mm.
and Fonzie, you said, "Get out! I don't want that negative energy in here." And like so many people forget that. They forget that part of it. So I like that stood out to me huge, because I find myself coaching and teaching people constantly, like, stop with the negative energy. You are not going to find the next thing being negative. And so it's so cool that you guys could actually feed off of each other and work off of each other to find that place, and then be able to get back into that positive energy and find your way to what you love to do. I mean, how cool is that? And I hope that our listeners hear that, because, like, holy cow, what a success to be able to just go, okay, you know what, let's chill for a second. Let's figure out the positive direction to go and look at what you're creating with it is really cool. So during those times, like, where did you learn that from? Like, why did you know that? Most people don't know that. And it might seem normal to you, but I know it's not normal from the people I work with.
Definitely not.
So, I mean, personally, I've always been very receptive to like people's energy, I feel like. And if I'm at discomfort, I'm like, oh, I don't really want to be here, right? I'm like, I'm going to move away. Where if talking about energy, right? I think putting yourself in discomfort is the way to grow, right? But if we're talking in an energy sense, I'm like, this doesn't feel right? Let's find a different way. And I can trace it back, I guess, to my mom, because my mom is very spiritual. She has done Tai Chi for years, right? Which is super calm. I tried it once and I was going as slow as I can. And then when I would open my eyes at the end, I will see all the old people doing it. And they were like at 1/3 of their routine. I was like, how? Right. So my mom has been into that world for a long time. And I think we just saw her, right? How she would react to things. And yes, of course, some things would upset her, but then she would move on pretty quick, right? And I think for me, growing up, that I was like, okay, so like that's how it should be done. Like you shouldn't stay mad forever. Like you don't win anything by staying mad forever. You cannot get things back by staying mad. So when things like this happen now, like, yes, of course, at the moment, I'm like sad, mad, but then I'm like, okay, I need to move forward. And I think one of the best explanations we've heard of this was his name is Hal Elrod. He's the Miracle Morning author. We actually had the chance to be at a kind of like a keynote speaking gig with him 2 weeks ago or like a month ago. Yeah. And he has a tattoo that says "Can't change it." And when he was explaining it, he's like, you know what? Like when something happens and you cannot change it, and you have to realize it, that there's no way that you can go back in time and change that thing. So you need to allow yourself to feel the emotions for a little while, and then it's time to move forward, right?
I think on the relationship side too, it's like, how do we deal with that dynamic? Like, how do you on the growth? But I think we're also mindset wise, we're at a very similar level to where we're both open to level up, right? And we understand that to level up, we have to go through failures, right? Through samples. Maybe negative things are going to happen. Not maybe, they're going to happen, right? So then it's like, how do we adapt that, right? And I think like the athlete mentality, right? Like in a sport like soccer, you fail most of the time. Like you're gonna tackle while dribbling, you fail, right? They take the ball from you. You're gonna try to shoot on goal. The goalkeeper is gonna stop the ball. So you deal with failures, a lot of things, and I think that's why athletes are so resilient, right? Because you learn, it's like, hey, it's okay. Like I didn't score a goal, I'm gonna have a next opportunity. Let me work hard for that. So then we translate that into our day-to-day on the business side, and I think that perspective to us helped a lot, because we're like, hey man, like the podcast, for example, I think it was like second interview with Steve Larson, right? No, third interview with Marley Jacks. Everything went wrong. Like the Zoom call like dropped. We couldn't stream it. We said we're going to stream it live. We messed up the script. Like it was like but whatever, we owned it. We're like, that's not going to stop us, right? We have a next opportunity, tomorrow with another show, right? It's going to happen. Let's own it. And I think like that mentality has helped us also understand each other, right? Because like, okay, man, maybe like he did something that I don't really like. Let's have a conversation about it, right? Like let's tackle this. And for us, that has been a big tool. It's like I'm leaning on him and then he's leaning on me, right? To do that. And I think that's why sometimes solopreneurs or people that are tackling this journey on their own seek that community, seek those people that they can unload all this stuff, because then we go home to our families and they have no idea what we're going through, right? It's really challenging, right? My wife is like complete opposite to me, right? And sometimes that brings a lot of like very positive perspective. But when I talk to her, I'm like, and she's like, why are you doing it? Like, why are you going through all this like pain? I'm like, well, I think that's the way it's like Alex Sharfman says, the evolutionary hunters, right? Like this is our desire. We need to go do this, right? But that brings a ton of stuff. And if we don't accept that that's going to happen, right? Then it's going to be really challenging, make a decision where it's like, okay, something went wrong. That's fine. It's meant to be that way. Let's bring it in, chat it up, and then move forward.
Yeah. And, like going back to my mom here real quick, the first book that she gave me when I came to the States, she only gave me one book, and it was Your Erroneous Zones by Wayne Dyer. And I read that book and I was like, wow, that this is crazy. And the part that I remember the most is the fact that preoccupying for something is a waste of your energy, because you're putting your energy in something that you cannot change, when you have the choice of putting that same amount of energy into something proactive that is going to help you move forward. So when I was introduced to that concept, I was like, wow, like I'm just being literally useless when I started preoccupying about things. Like I'm not doing anything. I'm not serving anybody. I'm not even serving myself, right? Yeah. So for that's when I got aware of the concept, right? If you want to put it that way. I think I understood it and I kind of knew a little bit before. But once that concept was in paper in front of me that I read and I understood it, I was like, okay, this is how I decide to deal with situations in the future, right? If there's something that is going to, bring this negative energy, maybe I allow myself to feel it for a little bit, but then I cannot place my energy over there because I'm going to be useless, right? And I want to be moving forward.
And that was the example, when we lost that client, that's exactly what he did. It's like he sensed it, right? Like he's like, man, like I know there's a negative thing here. I tend to attach to that, and my planning mind goes like, okay, what's going to happen next month, the next 3 months, right? Like if this doesn't happen, so my energy is consumed through that thought. And then he's like, snap out of it, right? Let's get back to it. Is an opportunity, right? So it's not that anymore, but we can create a new one, which is more exciting, right? So it's been also a few years doing this. So lots of practice.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I would like to transition into what I call our lightning round, kind of like John Lee Dumas, right? And,
let's go.
And I like to talk about emotions. I believe that emotional education is at the core and root of it all. We do everything to feel, and you guys have expressed that in a number of ways today, and I appreciate it. And it's cool to listen to your journey. This segment is you get to pick an emotion as we go. I'll give you a category, and I call it our go-to emotions, right? So these are our go-to emotions. When things are going well, what's your go-to emotion? When things are going poorly, what's your limiting emotion? All right. So I'll give you a category. You get to pick an emotion for those two, and I'll kind of lead you through. Pretty easy, pretty straightforward. And now, do either of you have kids?
I do.
Yeah. How many?
One.
How old?
Year and a half.
Nice.
Very little. Yeah, he's running around like crazy all the time. So that's why you see me with coffee and Red Bull and stuff every day.
Buckle up. It's going to get faster.
Oh, yes. Let's go.
And are you both married or just?
No.
Just me. Fonzie's a free spirit.
Michael, you're going to make me cry over here. No,
it's okay for those listening or watching, that he has a sexy beard, sexy voice. He's really good looking too, like great cook. So, we're finding a girlfriend or something. Just let us know.
Great cook is very debatable. If you like to eat the same thing every day, go ahead.
We'll hook you up. It's all good. Where do you live?
Jacksonville, Florida, guys.
Okay, Florida it is. There we go.
Yeah.
All right, so here we go. Go to emotions. The first category is business. In business, when things are going well, what's your go-to emotion?
Oh man,
You
excitement.
can go first.
Excitement.
That was a joke. Sorry.
Which Luis? Yeah.
Yeah.
I think we nailed it.
Yeah, we actually said excitement at the same exact time. Wow.
Okay. Excitement. Awesome. And your limiting emotion when things are going poorly.
I do get sad.
But frustration, is that an emotion?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frustration.
If you can say I feel whatever, then it's an
I
emotion.
feel frustrated.
We're not talking academic, just
Yeah. I feel
You know,
like sad, defeated sometimes.
all right. And partnerships. What's your go-to emotion when things are going well? In your partnership.
Gratitude.
Okay.
I get very excited too. So excitement. So
Okay. And when things are going poorly with your partnerships, what's your limiting emotion?
It's a little bit of, which is pretty sad, but I think okay, I'm gonna put this in the terms of my previous relationship. I think it was a little bit of resentment, right? Kind of like why are you getting mad? And but here with my brother, if in partnership, the negative
careful what
one,
you say.
Yeah,
No, I'm kidding.
I know you're listening. Wow, that's a tough one, honestly.
Dude, I think I react the same way. Like frustrated. Like and it's not frustrated with them. It's frustrated with me because it's like I didn't see it coming, or like why is this happening, right? Is it my fault, right?
Yeah.
And I think
This is gonna sound really weird, but we don't really get into we're constantly communicating.
Yeah.
So I think
you would have asked this 5 years ago, it would have been a totally different answer.
Oh, sure.
For sure.
Yeah. Okay. So coaching, you guys coach clients, and I'm sure you've had plenty of coaching with your soccer days and your business days now. So when you are the coach, when you are being the coach, what's your go-to emotion when things are going well?
I think it's the feeling of like, wow, like how cool it is when someone you are trying to help, they find out there's some solution, they find out some epiphany, and you're like, yes, wow, that is so exciting.
I feel gratitude because they're letting us into their life, their processes, giving us the opportunity to help them out.
Okay. And when things are going poorly, when you're coaching, what's your limiting emotion?
Yeah, I think it would be, I don't know if stress would be the emotion, but it's a little frustrating, kind of like, why are you not doing what we're trying to help you with, what we're telling you to do sometimes. So yeah, definitely that one.
Angry, maybe. Like I feel like, but it's becoming better. Like it's like it's like 2 seconds, and again, I said angry because I don't want to say frustrated for the third time, but it's like, oh man, but why? And there has been a lot of inner work, right? Because it's like, okay, let's explore why is that not happening, right? Like let's find out, why that is. So it's getting less and less.
It sounds like we only have 2 emotions: excitement and frustrated.
I know. Can we have a menu to pick from?
I'll get that to you later. Okay, so when you're being coached, what's your go-to emotion when things are going well?
Oh man, I feel
a lot of excitement. I love learning new things. Like that is probably one of my top 2 passions, is like, what new thing can I learn? And my brother, he can attest to that. He's like, stop sometimes, just focus.
I need you to execute. So I think for me is wonder is like, I feel like I'm learning all these things that like I'm making this improvement. Like, where can we go now? Like where, like I wonder what's going to happen next, right? It's like, okay, let's make it happen, right? Like, what's the future that we can create now? Yeah.
Looking at it now, I also feel a lot of, again, 5 years ago, the answer would have been different, but now is gratitude, because I'm like, we are in the like 1% of the world that know this information, that is, you know, getting to know this, and like such a unique opportunity. So definitely grateful for that.
Cool. And limit your emotion when things are going poorly when you're being coached.
I mean, frustration.
Yeah.
No, I maybe some self-doubt, kind of like, am I worth of this? You know, that I'm being taught.
Confused, right?
Yeah.
It's like it might be because we encounter like a friction point on like identity, or friction point on like belief, right? It's like, whoa, man, like this is changing my belief now. Why am I feeling this way? Like, what's in my path, in my past? What are those stories that are limiting me from like moving from here to the next level, right? So that's probably one of my first ones.
Okay. And then with relationships outside of business, like when things are going well, what's your go-to emotion?
You answer this one first.
Me? Throw me on the bus?
Well, you got a wife.
I feel happy. I feel happy.
Okay.
Again, like this last year especially, we've been very jealous on like who we bring in our personal life, just because of the quality of the conversations that we could have, or like different things, right? And that's a pretty interesting question, because like I'm going through that with like my other friend, my I say other friends. It's like outside of the network friends, right? We've been blessed through our platform to be able to meet amazing people, right? And we're developing new relationships. But then we've also are falling or growing apart from other people that might not think that the same way that we do. Right. And so I'm very happy and grateful for the new ones. And then I'm gonna answer like the negative one. It's oh man, or no, you go.
Yeah. Well, I one of my favorite things to do is meeting people and just kind of like trying to figure out their potential. Where it's like, oh, like what can this person do, right? Because again, if I personally would talk to myself 5 years ago, it would be mind blowing even for myself right now. I'll be like, wow, like you knew nothing. Like how cool this growth, right? That we have experienced. So I don't know. It's very exciting. I love meeting people. Again, I am very, like my brother says, jealous too on who I relate to like closely, and who I take advice from, and who I listen to for inputs and stuff like that. But it is very exciting for me, honestly, to meet people. And the negative one, I would say sometimes disappointment, and which is sad, right? Because I mean, sometimes you meet someone that you have expectations, and we have talked about expectations before, but you know, it's like, oh wow, maybe not, move on to the next one.
For me, I don't know if this is the correct word, but like indifference is like, well, if you, like if that's not, you know, what I expected, I cannot change it, let's move on, right? Like I'm not gonna spend either time, like if I don't see a big benefit, like like with newer people, newer relationships, and I'm like, oh well, you're doing your thing, you're happy doing your thing, cool, but we don't sync, right? Like and that's okay. We might sync the next year, like we can revisit this and do it like so I don't know if indifference is the right word. I would say that, and then my wife will probably kill me because, you know, we've literally had this conversation because like we go now to this like reunions or meetings or parties, and like my topic of conversation is completely different, right? Like first off, Hispanic, soccer fan, entrepreneur, like complete opposite of like the group of friends. They do American football, right? Drinking beer and taking shots, and I'm like, that was me like 6 years ago.
I guess we want to bring value, right, to whoever we bring into our lives as well, and we want obviously to like see the value in them as well. So it's a, you know, it's a give and give relationship.
Sure.
I'll be there, right? Like I don't think I'll change the way that, you know, that they need to communicate. That's not my change to make, but I'll be like, oh, sweet. And then it's like, cool. Like I'm enjoying, there's going to be something positive out of this situation no matter what, right? Like it's, it's gonna be like, but Sweet.
Michaels, you can tell we are terrible at lightning
Horrible.
rounds.
Like we just like it was. This was more like a thunderstorm round. Like it was just like kept going forever. Like a Florida's thunderstorm.
Well, I was adapting to the Florida weather, so it was
Exactly. Sweet.
okay. One more for you, Luis,
Yes.
because you have a child now.
Yeah.
So with your
That I know of.
child, what's your go-to
No, I'm
emotion
kidding.
when things are going well?
Oh man, with my child when things are going great, grateful that grateful. Yeah, that's the main one. That's a big one.
And
Grateful,
when
very
things-
followed very closely by excitement.
Okay, absolutely, yeah. What's your limiting emotion when things are going poorly?
Huh, I'm trying to think of a very specific moment when things went really poorly, but I think we're like very lucky. And this is why I struggle so much with that question, is because we've been trained for years to be like, it doesn't matter. Like there's always a positive. So
Yeah.
I think that's why we're failing so bad at that side of the questions, because like something like it's the same one, like something negative happened. I'm not going to waste my time to go to the negative thought. I'm just going to be like, sweet, there's an opportunity to learn. So
I love it.
like,
Yeah.
I want to illustrate it with an example. I think you're going to enjoy this story. So one day we decided that we're going to leave Luca with Fonzie one afternoon for the first time ever. Right. So my wife is like, oh my gosh, no. Right. And hey, we're also roommates. Like he lives with us and the wife and the kid and the dog. It's like crazy. Yeah. We should do a sitcom about this. We've been talking about it. And so I'm like, baby, it's going to be amazing. I'm grateful that we have a brother like in here that can help us out. Let's go have date night. Right. Like, I don't think it was date night. It was like 30 minutes. It was something very quickly, right? And he's like, man, okay, what do I do with the diaper? What do I do with like if he poops? And this Luke is like 2 months old, like it's very tiny. And then I come back 20 minutes later, and the house is completely flipped. Like the couches, like are flipped. Like all the like I see diapers everywhere. Like you see the wall has like a pee mark of like Luca peeing over the wall. Like, and then Fonzie is there in the seat in the chair, just like rocking with this like crazy face, like I'm like, are you okay? And Lucas like sound asleep in his arms, and I'm like, sweet, the baby's alive. What happened with the dogs are like nowhere to be found. And it could have been like my wife walked in and she's like, like the poor Luca, like, but I'm like, oh man, like learning, lesson learned. We won't leave Luca with Fonzie ever again. Like this was hilarious.
So I'll clarify what happened, right? So time to change the diaper, right? So I don't have the expertise that my brother and his wife have to change the diaper in 0.2 seconds. Like they literally have like a diaper pit stop right there. If you watch Formula One, they're like, and like the diaper is changed. Me, on the other hand, I was like, okay, let me take this off. What is the next step? Trying to remember. And when I was trying to remember, Luca decides to pee, right? So he's obviously facing up, so he starts peeing, and I'm like, this is my reaction. I put my hands on top of the pee stream, and I'm like, no. So the pee starts bouncing on the baby, and I'm like, oh no. And then I take it off, and then the wall gets pee, and I was like, this is a mess. So I carry Luca, I take him to the sink, and I start like washing him. And then I like finally get to put him in the diaper, and then the whole house, their whole room is a mess, right? Because you got like diapers trying to change, everything is peeing there. I was like, oh, this is horrible. And literally at that point, I was like, okay, I'm gonna put Luca to sleep, and then I'll clean this. And at that moment is when they decided to come inside the house. Of course.
So a lot of people could be probably frustrated because the wall is full of pee, like the diapers are all over the place. But I mean, now we have a funny story to share. Now we have an awesome lesson learned. But like, okay, Fonzie, that's it. Last diaper you're ever gonna change. Like,
yeah, following up on what you said, that it's difficult for us because we literally always said like, what is the positive side on this? Like when something bad happens, and that is something that used to drive crazy my ex, right, in my previous relationship, because she would get very frustrated doing certain things. And I'm like, but tell me, like, what is the positive thing? What is the lesson? Why can't we learn here? And she would flip. She's like, no,
Just be angry.
And obviously, again, on my end, I do need to respect when people have those feelings as well, right? Like I cannot always be like, yeah, but tell me what is the positive, right? But it's like that. So that is why it's so difficult for us to answer the negative feeling ones, because we don't really put that much energy into those. We're like, okay, let's look at the positive side. What is the positive side of this situation?
No, it isn't. It's a great skill. Don't lose it. It's awesome, and it takes practice and work. And I do see, and I do find often that athletes do have a bit of a jump start on it, because like you said earlier, you go to score a goal, you're going to make it less than you're going to miss it. And you learn to get over it. And you learn to communicate with your team, and you learn to listen to your coaches. So I think athletes definitely have a bit of an advantage. And I think there's a lot to be said for it. Listen, guys, it's been an absolute pleasure to have you here today. You guys are awesome, but I can't let you go without, we did talk about what you're doing, but share with us how all of our lifers in Magic for Life can find you, how they can look you up, how they can take advantage of your awesome services and products. Tell us more about what they can do and how they can find you.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. What's up, lifers? I think the best way to kind of get to know us a little bit better, see what we're doing, is the podcast. So Content is Profit. You can go there in every single platform. We publish at least 3 episodes a week. So there's a lot of stuff in there. It's super fun. It could be a solo episode, it could be an interview. Yep. If you guys are interested in your publishing journey to get started, like how we did and how we were able to kind of monetize as fast as possible was with our minimum viable content. There's a free cheat sheet that people can download in contentisprofit.com. And if you're interested in our high-end services of content repurposing, you can send us a DM. That's the easier, fastest way that you can reach out to us.
Yeah, if you have any questions from all the stories that we shared today, feel free to reach out. We love talking to people, so just reach out at BizBros Co. on Facebook and Instagram, and it'll be an exciting conversation.
Awesome. You guys are amazing. I am so excited to get this out there to the world, and it's fun to be able to interview the interviewers. You guys out doing all that stuff for everybody else. So thank you so much for being here today. I appreciate it so much.
I appreciate it. Thank you for the opportunity.
Thanks.
Hey, lifers, don't forget to get your free copy of the Every Minute book. You can find it at everyminutebook.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram.